The Indiana Hoosiers are the hottest college football team in America right now, and they should be your pick to win the national championship.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Well, lots to get to on today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Indiana men's basketball had an exhibition last Friday. We'll talk about that and just the style difference that Darren DeVries is going to bring to this Indiana men's basketball team. Plus, we'll take a look at the newest AP poll where the Hoosiers move up and set another record for the program. But I think Indiana right now, while they're definitely the hottest team in America and playing the best football across the nation as well, I think Indiana should be the title favorites to win it all right now in college football. I think they should have the best odds. I think they should have the most money on them. I think they should be the most highly picked team to win the national championship. And they should be your pick, and they are my pick. Because how can you go against what this team is doing right now? How can you go against what Indiana has shown week after week after week? And I think people are finally starting to get on board. We had some people tell us on the Saturday live show that they're now believers, right? They now are people who are paying attention to Indiana and giving this squad and this program some legitimacy. And you can see it across the board. You can see it in betting odds. You can see it in playoff projections. You can see it in pretty much anybody's predictions on what's going to happen. The Indiana Hoosiers are the best team in the country right now, and I think have the best chance to win the national championship. And there's several reasons for that. First, we look at this upcoming schedule the rest of the way. Indiana is going to be favored in all of their games and probably favored by double digits. You have UCLA at home this weekend, which is officially the big noon kickoff right on Fox. You have a road game to Maryland, a road game to Penn State, who lost to Iowa this weekend, so they're still in shambles. You host Wisconsin, and then you travel to Purdue. Indiana should finish the regular season undefeated and should be relatively stress-free if you do what you're supposed to do. Right, if you don't sleepwalk, if you don't get any injuries, right, that's a big part of this too, and you just handle your business and play like professionals, you should finish the season undefeated, which will give you every chance to be a top 4 seed in the college football playoff. I know you're the second-ranked team right now. It just kind of depends on what happens around you. And if Ohio State slips up somewhere, you could be the number 1 ranked team in the country and the 1 seed in the college football playoff. So your schedule is not all that difficult. But you start looking at updated playoff projections, right? And again, if you get that top 4 seed, you're going to get a bye. You don't have to worry about it, right? It's the 5th seed where that could be Oregon. It could be Georgia. It could be Ole Miss maybe if they come back after their loss this weekend. I mean, there's some possibilities in there. I expect that to be Oregon, but you don't have to worry about playing the quarterfinal games on campus somewhere. As cool as it would be for Indiana to host a playoff game at Memorial Stadium, I think we are okay if the Hoosiers miss out on that and get to take that week off and then play somebody the very next week, right? And I do have some thoughts on bye teams and things like that because of what we saw a year ago, but we'll worry about that when we get there. I want to be a top 4 seed, and if you win out, you absolutely will be. You start looking at projections, and the one that I have pulled up is from ESPN. This was on Sunday after this weekend's games of college football. Indiana squarely in as the 2 seed. Both the writers for ESPN have Indiana taking on 7th seed Ole Miss in the college football playoff quarterfinals. One of them has us going to the Cotton Bowl down in Arlington, Texas. The other one has the Hoosiers playing in the Orange Bowl down at Hard Rock in Miami. Either way, we're going to have to travel and go play a neutral site game. But the 2 seed against Ole Miss, I think I like that matchup. Did you watch Ole Miss play Georgia on Saturday? It wasn't all that impressive, at least from a defensive perspective. And so I love that matchup for Indiana. I think the Hoosiers defense would absolutely get after Chambliss, the quarterback for Ole Miss, and I don't think their defense could stop Fernando Mendoza after he hoists a Heisman Trophy. I don't think their defense could stop what this Indiana offense is doing right now. So I love the potential matchup of Indiana versus Ole Miss. You then take care of business in that game. You would then get some sort of a combination in this projection here in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. One matchup is playing third-ranked Texas A&M. The other projected matchup is Indiana taking on sixth-ranked Oregon. Think about that for a second. The fact that you could either play a top 5 team from the SEC or Oregon playing them again on a neutral site. That would be in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Could you imagine? Could you imagine having to play Oregon again? Some people would say, yeah, give it to us. We'll play them again. We beat them once. We can do it again. Some people would say, I don't know. I don't think I want to see Dan Lanning for a second time around with more preparation and a little extra motivation. But I think Indiana won that game because they were the better team. And if you can beat them on the road in that environment, you absolutely can beat them in a neutral site, no doubt about it. Going up against Texas A&M, I'm not sold on them. I think their defense is suspect. Notre Dame put 40 points on them, and that's an offense led by CJ Carr. Like, I'm not too worried about that, and I think their defense is okay, but not great. And so I think Indiana would be favored and would win either one of those matchups right now, either against Texas A&M or against Oregon. And then you have the national championship game, which the experts are saying could come down to the first-ranked team in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes, and the second-ranked team in the country, your Indiana Hoosiers. And I said on Saturday in our live show after Indiana beat Michigan State, I think the Hoosiers are the best team in the country. I still believe that. I think they're playing the best. I think they are the best. But the only other team that has an argument is Ohio State, and rightfully so. I would love for these two teams to play for a title. I wish they could suit up and play tomorrow, but that's not going to happen. And these two teams might see each other in the Big Ten championship game, which I have thoughts on that, and we'll address what that could or could not look like in the next several weeks. But I would love for these two teams to play for the national championship game. And I think Indiana would give Ohio State everything they wanted, and I think Ohio State would give Indiana everything they wanted. But if you're looking to pick a national champion right now, if you're looking to make a prediction, sprinkle a little something with our friends at FanDuel, Indiana's the pick, folks. They have the third best odds to win the national title as it stands on this Monday. It's Ohio State, Alabama, and then Indiana. The Hoosiers are right there. And if you think the Hoosiers can do it like I do, then jump on that now, because it's only going to increase. It's only going to get better as Indiana continues to dominate people down the stretch. And I'm telling you, I think Indiana is the best team in the country, and they have the best chance to win a national championship. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we're sticking with football because the newest AP poll has come out. So did the coaches poll too. And what we thought was going to happen did happen. The Hoosiers are up to the second-ranked team in the country. We talk about why that's significant coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. We were just talking about them, showing them a little bit of love, and we'll do so again right here. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So if you got in on action on Saturday for college football, yesterday for the NFL, still have a doubleheader tonight for Monday Night Football that you can get in on, or maybe you want to sprinkle some money on the Hoosiers to win the national championship. All I'm saying is if you put $5 on something, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, okay? So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started at FanDuel.com. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that help make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or on your computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. I love how Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone, lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and text like a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, no worries. Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, meaning no missed customers. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here on this Monday if you're watching or listening on the day that it comes out. But if it's a later day, I appreciate you being here regardless. And again, this is a daily podcast for you. Every single day, Monday through Friday during the week. We have live shows on the weekends, bonus episodes out there as well. So I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel as we are making a push towards 7,000 subscribers, which is just insane to think about. So thank you for doing that if you have already. But if not, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It's easy. It's going to tell you every time we post a new episode on YouTube or a short or some breaking news, whatever it is. That way you get notified when we do so. And then if you're on audio, right, Spotify or Apple or Amazon, whatever the case may be, notify or get notifications, turn them on. If you can subscribe, cool, follow us, do whatever you can so you never miss a new episode of Locked On Hoosiers. All right, so I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you supporting the show. All right, so Indiana, as we expected with the win over Michigan State, the loss for Miami on Friday night, the second-ranked team in the country being the frauds that they are, the newest AP poll came out, and the Hoosiers set a record for the program once again. Being ranked number 3 in the country like they were a week ago was the highest ranking in the history of Indiana football. You have since done that again by moving up to the second-ranked spot. And taking a look, for those of you on YouTube, we've got a graphic for you to show what the week 9 AP poll looks like. And if you're on audio, just pull it up. We'll read through some of this quickly here. We expected, right, Ohio State to be the #1 team in the country. That's fine. They are. There are your Indiana Hoosiers, ranked 2nd in the nation. Texas A&M at 3rd. And again, I don't know, man. I just don't think I'm sold on them. Arkansas put a bunch of points, bunch of yards on them, and that's an Arkansas team that fired its head coach a couple of weeks ago. So not totally sold on them. Alabama's at 4. Georgia's at 5 after beating Ole Miss. There's Oregon right back there at 6, taking care of business, doing what they need to do. Georgia Tech at 7. I'm not sold on them. Ole Miss at 8. They're good, but man, they had that game locked down against Georgia and found a way to lose. There's Miami at 9 after losing their game to Louisville on Friday night. So they drop down and have to make up some ground. How about Vanderbilt? What a world that we live in. Vanderbilt's in the top 10. Indiana's in the top 10. Georgia Tech's in the top 10 of the AP poll. College football might just be drunk this year, and it's awesome. Quickly here, BYU's at 11. Notre Dame's at 12. They're going to find their way back in the college football playoff, and that's just frustrating to me, but it is what it is. Oklahoma's at 13. You have Texas Tech at 14. Missouri 15. And then from here on out, I don't know what the heck's going on. Virginia 16, Tennessee 17, South Florida 18, Louisville at 19. Big win for them over Miami. LSU fumbled against Vanderbilt. They're back down to 20. Brian Kelly just can't seem to win big games when it matters the most. Cincinnati's at 21. Texas 22 with an overtime win over Kentucky. Whoop-de-doo there. Illinois back inside the top 25 at 23. Arizona State at 24. And the Michigan Wolverines are at the 25th spot. But how cool is this for your Indiana Hoosiers, right? How awesome is this that Indiana is the second-ranked team in the country? And we did this a week ago, and we've honestly done this the last several weeks where I've had you kind of sit back for just a second and really take all this in and really acknowledge where we are as a program right now. The Indiana Hoosiers in college football are ranked number 2, only behind Ohio State. One of, if not the most powerful, recognizable brands in the sport. and the Hoosiers are right there with them. And the Indiana Hoosiers received, 6 first-place votes, I think it was? So people believe that they could be the number one team in the country, and I think they have a huge argument to be that. Now, that's never going to happen until Ohio State loses, which may not happen this year. Let me pull their schedule back up. I had it just a moment ago. You're not going to jump Ohio State unless they lose. And here's what's unfortunate for them. I guess unfortunate for us because of what their schedule looks like is a better way to say that. They host Penn State. That'll be a blowout. They go to Purdue. That'll be a blowout. They host UCLA. That'll be a blowout. They host Rutgers. That'll be a blowout. And then they go to Michigan, right? They go to Michigan for the game to end the regular season in the Big House for Big Noon kickoff on November 29th. That's the only chance they have to lose. That's it. They're going to destroy all the other teams on their schedule. So if Ohio State's able to get over the barrier that is Michigan for them and Ryan Day, then they'll be the number one team in the country. They'll be the number one team in the college football playoff. But for Indiana and Curt Cignetti, you can't really worry about that at this point. You've done everything you're supposed to do and then some, just being honest here. You've done more than you're supposed to do to this point in the season. So don't worry about it. Just do what you got to do and beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. Again, you'll be favored the rest of the way. You just can't avoid the slip up. You can't avoid the letdown. You can't avoid any sort, or you have to avoid, I should say. That's a better way to say that, grammar, right? You have to avoid all of those things, and you can't get caught looking ahead. But weirdly enough, with how weak Indiana's schedule is down the stretch, there's really no game to look forward to, right? The Penn State game could have been that, but now they're terrible. And it's still a tough environment, and you still have to make the road trip and things like that. But you're not going to get, I don't expect Indiana to get caught looking ahead for a game against Wisconsin at home. Just don't think that's going to happen. You have to play well on the road at Maryland. You have to play well on the road at Penn State, and you really have to play well on the road at Purdue. But you're not going to get caught sleepwalking through one game, preparing for the next game. I just don't expect this team to do that. I don't expect Curt Cignetti to do that. I don't expect this staff to do that. And so that may be the best thing that could happen for you is all your tough games be front loaded. And now you can just hopefully work out some kinks that you have. Defensive communication issues is a big one. Special teams, maybe, but you've been pretty solid, and just stay healthy down the stretch if you're the Indiana Hoosiers. But as we put the top 25 graphic back up for just a moment, look at the resume that Indiana's going to have. Big Ten-wise, you've got Illinois in there, right, as the 23rd team in the country. Of course, they were 10th when you played them. And that's going to be all you have other than that in Oregon. You have Oregon there at 6, which will only get better. That win will be one of the best of the year across the sport. And then you have the Illinois game. I don't expect Iowa to get in the top 25. I don't expect UCLA or Maryland maybe. Nah, never mind. They're 4-3. That was a pipe dream for 3 weeks of the season. And Penn State being out and being down is going to hurt you too. So you have 2 big wins on your schedule in terms of resume builders, but that may be all you need. That may be all you need. And everything's going to be fine. Now, we've had this conversation, too, before we move on and talk some basketball. We've had this conversation already about the Big Ten versus the SEC. And the Southeastern Conference is rolling in terms of teams ranked in the top 25. Heck, they have 5 of the top 10, right? They've got A&M, Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt. They also have Oklahoma at 13. They've got Missouri at 15, Tennessee at 17, 20 is LSU, 22 is Texas, and then that's it. But they've got a lot of teams in there. But I'm still taking the top 3 of the Big Ten over the top 3 of the SEC. Give me Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon to win the national title before Texas A&M, Alabama, or Georgia. I truly believe that. I think the top of the Big Ten is better than the top of the SEC. But clearly, depth is where the SEC is going to beat its chest like it likes to do. But depth doesn't matter if you don't win at all. If you can't win the big games and you don't win a title, it doesn't really matter. And I think the Big Ten is well on its way to winning its third straight national championship. And I think Indiana's going to have a big say in doing just that. So whether it's Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, or heck, somebody else in there too, I'm taking the Big Ten to win the national title before I pick a team from the SEC. All right, coming up in our final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll flip over and talk a little basketball because an exhibition took place last Friday and another one coming up this weekend as well. We talk about the difference in Indiana basketball and how refreshing it might just be right after this here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings accounts, investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch has helped me organize my accounts. I've had several. I started a couple of retirement accounts a couple of years ago, have several different bank accounts, checking, savings, all that sort of stuff. And it just brings all of that together. It helps me track my spending, get a better handle on my investments without having to touch a single spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here and joining us on this Monday as we get another week started as we are approaching the end of October, which means we're near the start of the college basketball season. And I know it seems like it has snuck up on us because of the success of football, and I totally agree. It seems like we haven't talked real basketball in weeks because of the excitement with the football team and the success of the football team. And that's a great problem to have, and we're very blessed to have the Indiana football program, and I'm happy to be able to talk about it every single day. But we are closer to Indiana basketball starting the season. If you're watching or listening to this on the day that it comes out, we are, 1 week, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks away from the start of the regular season for Indiana basketball on November 5th. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty incredible. And it unofficially tipped off last Friday when the Hoosiers took on Marion in an exhibition inside of Assembly Hall. This game was pretty awesome. I will admit I did not get to watch it live, but I've been able to go back and catch a lot of the highlights and a lot of the clips put together and things. And when you beat a team 107-46, there's a lot of highlights in there. There's a lot of good things that you can point out and kind of highlight and focus on when you beat a team 107-46. Darren DeVries said that he was happy with the win. He said it's the way we've been practicing. So that's exciting to see. And it's the first game, right? I put that in air quotes. I mean, it's the first game. It's the first competition, but not really, because you played those games in Puerto Rico, which I think totally helped this team. No doubt about it. But this game against Marion, it was like that first game in Puerto Rico where you just outmatched and outmanned this team at every single position and then some. I mean, your 2 and 3 deep was better than their starters for the most part. Like, that's what we're talking about here, but a perfect exhibition start for the Indiana Hoosiers. And the thing that stands out to me, the things that you should be focused on, the things that you should be excited about is the defense and the three-pointers. This will be a true 3-and-D team for Indiana basketball in 25 and 26. This team shot 30 three-pointers in this exhibition game, and they made half of them. 15 for 30 from behind the arc, which is pretty awesome, if you ask me, because it's such a difference from what we have grown to know and been accustomed to with the Indiana basketball program. It's just a nice change of pace, yes, but God, it's just a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Where you know the team has the ability, has the green light, and has the stones to actually take the shots, to actually step behind the arc and say, this is a good shot. I have the confidence to take this. Let me see what I can do. And then you've got dudes who have the ability to make it. And You can go and find the different stats of the guys throughout this game. Your starters played really well. Lamar Wilkerson had several threes. Tucker DeVries is that dude. He's going to be one of your go-to guys with Lamar Wilkerson. Reed Bailey played well in this game. I mean, that's going to be your big three this season. But the idea that the ball movement is just fantastic, right? It never stops moving. You're always looking for the next man. You're always looking for the open guy. And I say this so often, basketball offensively can be a simple game if you make it that way. When you are moving the basketball, the defense is moving with it. And when the defense is moving, it creates holes and it creates opportunities. When the ball is moving, the defense is moving. And when the defense is moving, that's when breakdowns happen. And that's what this Indiana team's going to take advantage of, whether it's from the three-point arc, mid-range jumpers, or driving to the lane and then doing something with it from there, right? Converting, kicking out, dumping off, doing whatever. That's what this Indiana basketball team will do. And that's so refreshing. Rather than dribbling down, standing around, everybody flat-footed, high pick and roll, give it to the big man and get out of the way. That's what the Hoosiers did last year. And it was boring, and it sucked, and it didn't work, and you lost games because, well, it did work. You just can't outscore teams when they're shooting threes and you're hitting twos every other trip down the floor. This team will shoot the basketball, and then they're going to get back and play defense. And that's what I love, too, is the aggression and the energy and the passion on defense. In the first exhibition game of the year against Marion, a team that you dropped 107 points on, you only give up 46 and never let up on any possession, no matter who was on the floor, no matter what five that it was. This team will look different. And I've said this too, and we'll kind of wrap up with this. I don't know how many games this team's going to win this year. Couldn't tell you. Have no idea. Can't make that prediction. Most people are saying 500 and be a bubble team to make the NCAA tournament. All right, fine, whatever. But they'll be in every game. They'll never be out of it. They'll always have their defense. They'll always have their three-point shooting, whether it's good or not, whether you're hot or not, whether you're on or not. But this team will have the ability to come back. And that's the difference here. And I think, too, that the defense will have some lapses in it. It will have some holes. It will have some inconsistencies, especially when you start playing Marquette, Louisville, Kentucky, Kansas State, and then all your Big Ten games. Yeah, there's going to be some teams that bully you, especially from a size perspective. But, man, it was just fun watching the highlights of this thing. And I can't wait to see it again when they take on Baylor coming up on Sunday. That game on the Big Ten Network Plus looks to be a 2 o'clock start or 1 o'clock start on this Sunday on the 26th. So excited to see what that looks like against a little bit better talent in the final exhibition before the Hoosiers open up against Alabama A&M on Wednesday, November 5th. I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be a fun team to watch, a fun team to cover, and a team that will only get better as the year goes on. And refreshing is the word that I continue to go back to here. So everything you've known and come to think about this Indiana team and program, just forget about it. And I ask that fans come into this with an open mind, a clean slate, and allow this team to kind of get comfortable for a few weeks. And I think by the time you get in the heart of Big Ten play, they could have some serious momentum and could be a dangerous team come February and then hopefully in March too. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. We're talking football. We're talking basketball. Big recruiting updates as well coming out of the weekend. We have more on that as the week goes on too. Huge visitors were here. A big decision coming tomorrow for Anthony Thompson. We'll talk about it one way or the other. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us on your audio platforms as well. Okay, Hoosier fans, we are back tomorrow for another episode. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.